Hey y'all, today a buddy of mine, Conor Myles from Sports Illustrated is on with us. He's been on before. It was quite a few episodes ago, but he's killing the game, obviously covering stuff. And Conor, tell the people about yourself.
You know, just an Eagles fan, diehard Eagles fan that loves football, though. That's all it is at the end of the day. You know, I am blessed with talking about them on a podcast platform and also writing for them for SI, but you know, I still do my day-to-day normal jobs. I'm not doing this full-time yet, but one day at a time, and then we will get there. We will get there during the grind. But, you know, cover the Eagles for SI. Like I said, eaglestoday.com. You can check us out there, si.com/NFL/Eagles. Eagles podcast, Eagles Unfiltered. It's on every podcast platform available out there. If you just Google it, you can find it. And, you know, that's just what we're doing right now. So that's the day-to-day, the grind right now. And, you know, football season's upon us, so we're back. We're ready to roll. Go Birds, right?
Yeah. So obviously the elephant in the room, and I didn't plan to ask you about this, but obviously, like when you talk about it, I can feel it, like you actually like the Birds. And so I gotta ask you, just Birds fan to Birds fan, how much are you afraid, like me, just a little bit, that we're kind of 2011 dreams? I don't think so at the end of the day, personally, but there's that like little taste in my mouth that I'm like, am I getting too high on this team and it's about to be unwarranted?
I mean, you know, a lot of the feelings around this team are a little too good to be true, because you still, you know, as much as we all love Jalen Hurts and we're big fans of Jalen Hurts and the leader that he is, he's still the unknown part of all of this. But, you know, again, a lot of people will bring up, so was Carson Wentz. You know, Carson Wentz come off his rookie season had a 16 touchdown to 14 interception ratio. You know, there wasn't anything that really popped out at you numbers wise, but you did know he was the guy. And I mean, the Eagles have done everything to show you that they think Jalen Hurts can be the guy. They don't know that for a fact yet, but they think he can be. So there's a lot to be excited on. And it's not only that, man. It's when the Dream Team years, they signed veterans. You know, they brought in guys that were downhill at that point.
Yeah,
their better days are behind them. You're only going to get 1 to 2 years of production out of them at best. This is different because AJ Brown hasn't even showed you his best at all yet. You know, James Bradberry, I think he's coming into this team looking to, you know, reinvent himself. Hassan Reddick, you know, he's just hit his form the last 2 seasons. You know, they didn't just sign some over the hill guys to compete like they did following the Super Bowl team. They signed guys that are like, this is going to be a long-term project. You know, Nick Sirianni's a young head coach. He's going into his 2nd season. We want roster building blocks. That's what they did. So I think the energy should be different this time around, because not only is it going to pay off this year, but it's going to pay off years to come. I mean, AJ Brown is 24 years old.
So you said the hot take there. I mean, I love it, and you might very well be right, but I want to scroll back really quick for the listeners. Conor said we haven't seen the best from AJ Brown. You really believe that he has further up the hill to climb in terms of hitting his peak?
People don't understand how much that Tennessee offense held him back from being the true player that he can be. You know, it's a run-first offense, but it also, you know, Ryan Tannehill is very, I think, average. You know, I think Ryan Tannehill became a better quarterback when he had a wide receiver to work with like AJ Brown. I think that's what this conversation that gets really lost upon people when they say Jalen Hurts has such a ceiling. You know, it's only this high. You know, the Eagles can do better at quarterback. I've seen, and so is everybody else in this league, year in and year out, elite wide receivers elevate the play of the quarterback regardless of what caliber he is. It's happened time and time again. You know, Randy Moss is better than Dante Culpepper. Chad Johnson was better than Carson Palmer. You know, so on and so forth. AJ Brown is way more talented than Ryan Tannehill. I know for a fact that he's going to elevate Jalen Hurts' game. Now, the fact that they're already best friends and the chemistry right off the bat already is just, you know, the icing on the cake. But regardless of what our thoughts are about Jalen Hurts, there's no doubt in my mind he's going to be better this year. And the reason it's going to be is because of AJ Brown. And I'm telling you right now, Ryan Tannehill, we know what he is. We don't know what Jalen Hurts is. So there is a very good possibility that AJ Brown just upgraded quarterbacks as well. We're going to find out. And if that is the case, that means AJ Brown's going to get better and better. So I think the best is yet to come from him for sure. Absolutely.
Wow. Okay. So
right now, the vibe around that team from all these practices, and I'm sure Ed brought this up, they're going to be a pass-first offense. It's not going to be the running stuff anymore. Like they went with what was working for them last year, but that is not what they want to be full time. And when you invest $100 million into a wide receiver, you pay a tight end top 5 money, you take a wide receiver who won the Heisman in the top 10 pick, you're going to become a passing offense. So that's what they're going to be catered around this year. It's been nothing but passing during this training camp so far. They've been very, very, very focused on the passing. So if you're going to,
but they also know that what I will say also, they probably know what they have with the running game as well. I mean,
it's going to be successful no matter what.
Yeah,
you literally had Jordan Howard come off the street. You have Boston Scott, who is your 3rd string running back. You have Kenny Gainwell, who didn't play his final college season, and they were all producing, all of them. And it's because of the dual threat of Jalen Hurts' ability. So no matter what, Jalen Hurts is what the rushing attack goes through Jalen Hurts, and that's going to continue no matter what. But when you, like what I said, you put all these resources into these passing options, you're going to become a pass-first offense, and that's what they're going to be focused on this year. So if that is the case, then you have to think A.J. Brown's going to be better because he's never been in an offense that's been focused on the pass.
Yeah. And so I feel like Devontae Smith is really about to they were holding him out of the joint practice, the open practice and stuff like that for a little bit there. But I really feel like he's about to start taking over and eating against these number 2 corners. It's going to be bad. Like I wouldn't be shocked to see a couple of him put up 150 like 3-4 times on people this year.
This guy's seem like a hot take to some people, but it doesn't really bother me because I fully believe it. Devontae Smith is their most talented wide receiver.
Wow.
On the Eagles.
Wow.
I do believe at the end of the day, in years to come, he will be the Eagles' number 1, true number 1. I really do think he's the second coming of Marvin Harrison. It's not a joke. I really do believe that. Wow. A.J. Brown, you know, when Torrey Smith compared him to Manquan Bolden, I thought that was the perfect comp I've ever heard for A.J. Brown. But I really do think Devontae Smith is the second coming of Marvin Harrison. I really do. Nobody at that size has been as precise to play the wide receiver position since Marvin Harrison. It's really the truth. I mean, the guy won the Heisman for a reason. It's inevitable. I really do think he's going to become that talented of a wide receiver. So my last episode with Ed, we talked about, I said, I don't think people are talking about year 2 Devontae Smith enough. With this opportunity with A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, the attention's going to be off of him. When he was a rookie, it was all on him, and he still put up 900 yards. Now that all the pressure is off of him and all the eyes are off of him, and you have to focus on other wide receiver options for the Eagles, because you're not just focusing on A.J. Brown, you're focusing on Quez Watkins and Zach Pascal too, who are going to be contributors. It's just a perfect scenario for Devontae Smith. And I know this goes into your lightning round a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if he leads them in receptions this year because of these this opportunity.
Well, let's just take it now, Connor. Let's jump into the lightning round now. Let's just get it started. All right. So you're saying we'll take that one off.
I want to say Goddard, and I know you're paying $100 million for a guy, so you're gonna again. I will say so far at camp, the whole point has been making A.J. Brown the vocal point of the offense, but. Yeah. At the end of the day, I really do think Devontae Smith already having that chemistry, because say what you will about the chemistry with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, that's nice and dandy and all, but Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith have played with each other at college and in the NFL. That's going to matter at the end of the day. Chemistry always prevails.
That's true.
I really do think it's going to be him this year. I do.
Okay, so who leads the team in rushing yards?
Miles Sanders.
Sanders.
They're going to run him into the ground. I know we'll get into that a little bit later, but I mean, he's on the last year of his rookie deal. They have to decide if he's going to be worth a second investment. And regardless, I think the decision's already been made that he's not going to be. But if you're going to get a guy in his last year of his deal, you're going to run him into the ground if he's not a part of your future. And they also have to decide if Kenny Gainwell's either going to be Austin Eckler for them or he's going to be Nyheim Hines. So we're going to figure that out this year. But that's the only reason why I don't see them adding to the running back room right now, or having the urgency to add to the running back room right now, I should say, because they're going to really, really give Miles Sanders every opportunity to rush out that end of that rookie contract and to figure out what Kenny Gainwell is. But Miles Sanders will lead them in rushing, yes.
What about, will he lead the team in rushing touchdowns as well?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, it should be Jalen Hurts again. I really think they love those plays with Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's the bread and butter. I mean, if not Jalen Hurts, I do think it will be Kenny Gainwell, but I do think it's going to be Jalen Hurts again.
He's the most talented runner of the football on the team.
He's the most physical runner on the team.
Yeah. It's just and down there at the goal line.
Like everybody's always like, Get the big back. You need that LeGarrette Blount. You need that Jordan Howard. They have that. His name is Jalen Hurts. I mean, he can literally run everybody over. They literally can. He brings the physicality to the rushing attack. I know we underestimate how good Kenny Gainwell and Boston Scott are on short downs, but really Jalen Hurts is so the best. It's not really a huge need for me right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they add a running back still, because I still think they can add to that group, as a whole. But if they don't, I wouldn't be surprised either, because again, with Miles Sanders at the last year of his rookie deal, you got to figure out what Kenny Gainwell is. Jalen Hurts' rushing threats always matters, and Boston Scott's a pivotal part to this team too. So, wouldn't be surprised if they don't.
So we both somehow saw this article that Shil Kapadia put up. It was I thought it was pretty good. It was because I think so often in Philly sports coverage and talk and the love of the real passion that we all have for the team, it always gets carried away in real far directions. So he did it in three ways. He put it kind of in three buckets. There's three kind of outcomes for the season for Jalen. He takes a step forward. The team at least gets to the NFC Championship. Another one where he takes a slight step forward. Another where he takes a step back. And I thought that all of those ways he kind of went into what that would end up looking like in the kind of decision they'd be forced to examine in that way. But which one of those doors do you think that he walks through this year?
I think he's going to improve noticeably enough where they have to commit to him long term. Like, I really do think he's going to improve that much where they're confident enough in him, because they already are. This is the truth. I mean, if you pass on Justin Fields, you pass on Mac Jones, you pass on Kenny Pickett, who you really did extensive homework on, over and over again, they keep taking Jalen Hurts over these other options, and they keep adding guys that know him, that are friends with him, that are close with him. I mean, clearly at the end of the day, they want Jalen Hurts to take the opportunity and see with it. But if he doesn't, they have that insurance to move on. Like, they do. And they prepared themselves for that. But at the end of the day, this team, this organization, Jeffrey Lurie especially, they want Jalen Hurts to be the guy. They believe he can be the guy. And I do too, because there's just so much improvement going on around him that it's really hard to envision him taking a step back. And if he does not take a step back and he does improve, that's going to be enough for the Eagles. It is. It's going to be enough for them.
Oh, to get it a deal, but does he get like a Lamar Jackson kind of deal, or is he going to come on a discount kind of regardless? Not
going to have to.
Don't to disrespect. I don't mean to disrespect and use that kind of, but you know what I'm saying.
They have to. They're going to have to appease to the quarterback market. They have to. Any quarterback is going to want the market rate, and I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to be any different. And his deal is going to, it's going to put fans in a little bit like, what? I can't believe they committed to him like that. But I mean, at the end of the day, if he proves to you this year that you can win with him again for the second year in a row, after all the improvements you made, and the team rallies around him like they already do, and they continue to win, the momentum builds up at the end of the season, you got to keep rolling with the hot hand. You got to keep rolling with the guy that works for you. And so far, as much as people don't want to say it, because I know there's some people that still question him, he is what works for the Eagles. He is what works for the offense. He is what works for them in the winning records.
So if he, okay, let's say he does take a step forward, I would say a fair, examination of if he's going to take a step forward would be, okay, he makes it to the second round and they get blown out 31-13 or something like that. Do they have to contend in that divisional round, take somebody deep into the fourth quarter and maybe lose a close one? Or what does a step forward look like for the Birds?
You want to see him go toe-to-toe with the top upper echelon quarterbacks in this league. And in that situation, in the divisional round, you would be going up against that. I really think that context really does matter for that, though, because I did see, as much as we blame Jalen for Tampa, that offense looked like it didn't show up at all. It wasn't just Jalen. Like, nobody except for Devontae Smith, really, to me, in my opinion, looked like they showed up. And Jason Kelce. And I was at that game, so I can definitely tell you that for sure. But, if he does everything he has to do, possibly does, and they're in that situation where they're down 31-13, but he's, doing what he can possibly do to put them in position to win. Like, let's say against the Giants game, for example, throws 4 picks, looks awful, but he does everything he possibly do to put them in position to win. And ultimately does. It just comes out of the hands of Jalen Reagor. That situation makes you think, I have a franchise quarterback. The numbers weren't good that game.
No.
None at all. But he willed us back into the position of
Yes.
victory, and the guys around him let him down.
Yes.
So if that situation does occur in that situation that you're describing, they're still going to commit to him. I think
that's
the
right call.
Yeah, that is, and that is the right call. It is. It's harder to start over with a quarterback, and continue building, than it is to continue with a guy who's steadily improving year in and year out. And as much as people hate to say it, like I just sound like a huge Jalen Hurts fan now, which is crazy because I mean I'm still skeptical as well, but we do have to judge him a little bit differently than we did with Carson Wentz, than with Donovan McNabb, because he wasn't as decorated as a college prospect as those two were. You know, this is Jalen Hurts so far as his career as an Eagles has been a surprise. So keep riding the surprise.
And it's more than good enough, because I don't want to, get too carried away either, because I think we should all have a healthy level of skepticism about whatever we're seeing, especially as fans, people who want to objectively call the game. But, there were three, even last season, people talk about the win totals that the Eagles may end up having. Last season, they very well could have won. I don't know what would have happened in that last Cowboys game. You got the Niners game. You got the Chiefs game. You got the Bucks. I mean, there are a couple of games that, not the playoff Bucks games, by the way, folks.
They were competitive. They held their own.
And they lost games that they kind of shouldn't have. But that's early on in the season. They found their identity. How many, I'm going to just have to ask it just because I brought it up. How many wins out of 17 do you think they get this year?
11.
11.
I do think they live in 11. And just to end this real quick, I don't think the Eagles will hesitate to move on from Jalen Hurts if he does not make the adequate adjustments as a passer with A.J. Brown in the building. If he looks like the same way he is last year, and he's not getting close to 4,000 yards, and he's throwing 16 to 20 touchdowns, and the passing offense doesn't, at least improve by at least like 8 spots in the rankings, I do think they'll move on. But as much as we focus on those two first round picks that they have, you also got to remember this is a team that's Nick Sirianni's inheriting from a post Doug Peterson era that went all in on veterans. This is a veteran riddled roster that's still, getting into the new Nick Sirianni era where they're making those youth roster building blocks. Those 2 first round picks can contribute to that, especially on defense where they really don't have those guys yet. You're hoping Jordan Davis can be that guy. You're hoping Kobe Dean can be that guy, but you want to keep adding, especially in that secondary, because they don't have a long-term guy there. So as much as we talk about those first round picks being insurance for quarterbacks, I think they're insurance for everything on every position on this team, especially on defense.
You can get value. You can get a second. There's no question in my mind you can get a second for
it's all for roster construction. It's not just for quarterback, but it is also insurance for quarterback as well. So if he doesn't improve as a passer, they will move on. I have no doubt in my mind they will pull the strings and they have no issue moving on because they need to improve the passing offense, especially when you're paying so much money to A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert. But I do think they win 11 games because I do think Jalen Hurts takes the necessary steps to improve as a passer, because you have a guy like A.J. Brown who doesn't even need to be open to catch passes. He doesn't. He's one of the best guys in press coverage. And then you have Dallas Goedert's going to have nothing but space this year. And I will say, from the clips that I've seen and from talking to, Ed, John McMullen, and hearing everybody else, the bigger beat writers also look at practice, it doesn't look like he's, changed much as a passer. The accuracy still looks the same. He still looks the exact same as a passer. He just looks more confident going through his reads and his progressions. And that's big.
There are reasons for that. And I think his mechanics have gotten better. I don't know if the results are better yet, but I think find out. It looks better. It looks better coming out of his hand.
He looks like a more fluid passer. He looks like a more confident passer. And I think he second guessed a lot of stuff as a young quarterback, as always do.
Yep.
I'm not really, as everybody else is, I'm not concerned about Jalen Hurts at all. I'm really not. I think he's going to take the team by, make it his own this year.
Yeah.
I really do.
So if that, one way or the other with the number 1, Jalen Hurts is going to start pretty much throughout the season, unless he I don't see a scenario where he's not the starter. The Eagles will ride this out for 17 games.
We'll sink or swim with him for sure.
Yeah. But Minshew, the number 2 guy who asked how he could go about winning the quarterback role, do you think that they end up riding with him at number 2, or they try to get some value there?
No, I think they're going to ride with him. You know,
Okay.
they love the proven commodity at quarterback too. And you, say what you will about what he's looked so far at training camp in the preseason, but he's a proven winner at the end of the day. They won with him last year when they didn't really knew if they were going to need him or not. That's going to matter to them at the end of the day. And the proven track record is something that they love. And Garner Minshew and Nick Sirianni are very close. As much as he's not the starter and he asked for the job, they have a close bonding relationship. And Dave Caldwell is still in the Eagles building, so I don't see Minshew going anywhere. I do think he's cemented there as a quarterback too. Quarterback 3 is more of a question mark. I don't think the quarterback 3 is on the roster at all right now.
You do believe there will be a quarterback 3?
Yeah, I do think they'll got a quarterback 3. I don't think it's Reed Sinet or Carson Strong.
Good.
Yeah, I think they will pick one up. I think they will pick up one up on the waiver wire. They do like to have one in street clothes. They do. I do think they will. I think they will get a guy on the roster for the 53-man roster to be quarterback 3.
I hope. I mean, I don't like the idea. I mean, I've heard people talk about let's go with 2, but that's
Jalen Hurts missing those games last year definitely plays in the back of their mind. They're going to have a third guy.
Absolutely. Well, that's just smart. So scale of 0 to means you have absolutely no chance. You're probably going to be the first pick of the draft. 100% chances, the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens, they're just going to run through everybody, pretty much dominate. How confident are you that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl this year?
The Rams, running through the Rams is going to be tough again. I really do think the Rams are still the upper echelon teams. It's really going to be really tough to go through them. And I mean, the Bucs are the Bucs with Tom Brady at the end of the day, regardless of what's happening to their O-line. But with that being said, I think the Eagles defense has a chance to be better than their offense. And if that's the case, that is a team that's going to compete for the Super Bowl then.
Yep.
Without a doubt. That is. That offense led itself to the playoffs without A.J. Brown, without a clear-cut running back. I think Miles Sanders being more healthy this year, because I know he's already banged up in training camp, but I do think he'll be more healthy this year. I mean, he has to be. It's a contract year. I do think it's going to play dividends in the rushing game as well. But, you just can't sleep on that addition of A.J. Brown. It's so huge to what this team could possibly do. They're the best team in the NFC East for sure, I think.
Oh,
so
yeah.
If they're the best team in the NFC East and they get that, division title, if they get to play one home game in Philly during the playoffs, that's a team that can really make a run. If it plays out that way. So
they can always fall back on the running identity.
70% chance. You got to give them a 70% chance with how that roster's built right now. I know, like you said, our expectations are very high for this team right now, and they could really come crashing down, and reality can hit us really bad in the face. But there's no me guy on this team.
No,
there is nothing. The coach isn't even a me guy. He gave a play calling and nobody knew about it. In the city of Philadelphia, where the media is down your neck and knows everything about it, they had no idea the coach gave a play calling last year. This team will do whatever they need to do to sacrifice to win. I can't count that out. I can't. I couldn't count it out last year, so I can't count it out this year when they did was improve.
So if they're gonna make it there, they're gonna need a guy to back up a wide receiver, because you can't expect that Quez and Zach Pascal and Devontae and A.J. Brown will all be healthy all season. They'll need a 5th or a 6th guy to grab some receptions for them, especially maybe in a tight ball game where nobody's schemed them up. Who do you think that those 2 guys will be catching the ball at midnight green?
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think they're gonna keep a 6.
Okay.
We'll see. They could. Clearly, this is just a thought, but I think they're going to be confident enough in guys like Greg Ward, Britton Covey, Devin Allen, and Deion Kane to make waivers to make the practice squad.
Okay.
And I say that because, I know Deion Kane's looking great so far. And look, there's always players, I should say, that we fall in love with during the preseason that don't make the team at all. Yep. And you're like, what? How the heck did that happen? And it happens every year. And Deion Kane, I think, is going to be no different in the situation. Look at his career track record. The chances are you're going to get him on the practice squad this year. And I think they're going to be confident enough if they can stash the 6th wide receiver on the practice squad that they can use him whenever they need him and keep him during the season. I think that will be the case because, again, Devin Allen is just learning football again. Britton Covey, I think there's no chance he does not make nothing but the practice squad. Even if he does not the Eagles, it's going to be some other team's practice squad. And Greg Ward, he's the hidden gem on the Eagles that is okay with being on the bench. but I don't think many teams know about him. So I don't think if you waive him, he's going to get picked up either. So I think those opportunities to make those guys on the practice squad propel them to only keep 5. And the 5th guy is going to be Jalen Reagor. It's going to be the guy that they invested a first round pick in. It's going to be the politics of that situation. And as much as people hate it, they hated J.J. Arcega-Whiteside making it over Travis Fulgham too. And that was just the politics of the situation. It's going to happen again. Unless, and this guy for The Athletic that covers the Browns floated this out there today. And I've always thought this could be a possibility. And then he floated out there today. And I'm like, if he thinks so, then I could see it happening. And, I've talked to Jalen Reagor's dad a couple times, and he also thinks it would be a good fit. The Browns trading D'Ernest Johnson to the Eagles for Jalen Reagor.
Straight up.
And it does kind of make sense when you realize Andrew Berry was a whole part of that process to draft Jalen Reagor. Whatever the Eagles saw in Jalen Reagor, so did Andrew Berry, and he was all on board for it. The Browns have a huge need of wide receiver outside of Amari Cooper. Even, Ed was saying when he was up at the joint practices, he thought the Browns had the worst wide receiver corps in the NFL, and they have Amari Cooper. So I do think that would be a good fit. They have a GM that already knows what Jalen Reagor was at TCU. I think a couple teams will buy the fact that they think Jalen Reagor could be a reclamation project. I do think that. And I think that's why the Eagles think they should keep him. I think it's going to be another Zach Ertz situation. I really do. So as much as people hate to hear it, he is going to be the 5th wide receiver no matter what. He pretty much secured that spot unless a team trades for him.
So he had to, because he hasn't had he's had a good camp. He would have had to come out and have had a bad camp, dropping passes, looking kind of discombobulated, not ready to go. He has not looked like that. So like you're saying, the politics.
I mean, even J-Jaw did though. J-Jaw never looked good in camp.
No,
it's really, as much as we hate to say it, it's the politics of the situation. They invested a first round pick in him, the dead cap they don't want to take on. He's more beneficial to them on their bench than he is being released. It's just what it is for them right now. This is his last year with the team, no matter what, because they're not going to pick up his option. They're not going to pick up. We obviously know they're not picking up his 5th year option, and once they do that, that's the kiss of death. It's only a matter of time till you're gone. But as much as people are going to hate to hear it, and I really do think Jalen Reagor needs that change of scenery. I really hope for it to happen for him. I think he's a great kid, great person. I would love to see him get out of Philly and go figure it out somewhere else. And while the Eagles focus on what they have here and, invest in guys like Deion Kane or Britton Covey or Devin Allen and see what they can have in those guys at the bottom of the depth chart or pick up a guy on waivers who deserves to be that spot. But it's just not what it is right now. That's something we're talking next year, unless that trade formulates, which I don't think it's happening right now. I do believe Jalen Reagor is wide receiver 5 to start the season for the Eagles.
He could make some plays though. He's not. If
He's
I was
another,
cause.
I agree with you. I don't think he's a lost cause either. I think he was drafted to fit Carson Wentz's arm, and it never happened because he got injured, and then Carson fell apart, and then the whole situation fell apart.
Yep.
And then the new offense came in. They didn't draft him. They didn't invest in him, and it just kept going downhill because the Eagles have forced him into a circle, into a square peg.
Yep.
That's all it is. And he's a first-round pick. They have a lot of money invested, tied up to him. That's just what it is right now. But they're fine with the 4 guys that they have right there: and Zach Pascal, Quez, AJ, and Devontae. And after that, if one of those guys goes down, Jalen Reagor gets his opportunity, and hopefully he flourishes with it because it just boosts the trade value. Because that's all it is right now, is just a matter of time till they trade him.
Like Zach Ertz.
Yep. I really do think it's going to be a Zach Ertz situation again, where it gets dragged out, where it's like pulling teeth.
So speaking of the tight ends, how many do you think they keep there?
I do think they keep 3. Now, depends how Grant looks going forward. Apparently he looks healthy, and they're confident enough to play him, and obviously, so he looks healthy. But I do think they keep 3, and I do think they trust their ability to either grade one on the practice squad or to call Richard Rodgers whenever they need him, because that's what they do right now, anyways. So I really
him and Jordan Howard just ready.
Yeah, it's just whenever they need him, like in the middle of the season. Okay, might as well go pick up Richard Rodgers now. I do think they're going to trust that as usual. So I think it's gonna. This might surprise, but Grant's going to make the team. They invested a Grant Calcaterra. I can't. Calcaterra. I mess his name up every single time. To be honest, with you. I'm horrible with pronouncing.
It's a tongueful.
It really is
a mouthful. Yeah.
But they invested a draft pick into him, and he has a history of Jalen Hurts that pretty much puts him on the roster. The third one, I think it's going to be Stoll. I think it's going to be Jack Stoll again. He's improved a bit as a passer, but that blocking ability, they're going to love at the end of the day. They're going to keep at the end of the day. Noah T, sorry, bud. Second time around with the Eagles, everybody's hoping you're making the team again. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to roll with those three.
Yeah.
Obviously Goddard.
Noah Togiai. Yeah, he's looked solid, but he's a practice squad stash.
I think he could be. If he doesn't make the practice squad, I don't think the Eagles are going to lose sleep though, because I think Jack Stoll has made enough improvements as a pass catcher for them to say, okay, he's worthy of keeping on this roster.
And they got to keep a practice squad spot, or no, pup spot, and maybe potentially a 53 spot for Tyree Jackson.
We'll see. I think he's as much as a wild card as anybody else is too, because you can't stay healthy. If you can't stay healthy, you're not much. You don't really matter much.
Yeah.
Great prospect, great potential, but if you can't stay healthy, what does that matter?
Yeah. So do you think the Darnus thing would materialize in the next 2-3 weeks, or another running back move, or are they headed into the season with the running backs they have, and like you said, kind of ready to run Myles into the ground?
I think that there is no panic in that room about adding another running back whatsoever, more so than there is with the fans. I think that they're open to it. I think that they'll be willing to, but I don't think there's no urgency to do so. And it's because of what I was saying about Miles Sanders and Kenny Gainwell. They really need to figure out what they have in those two this year to make a decision long term. And in order to do so, you have to give them every opportunity. And if you keep adding guys, you're going to limit their opportunities, and you're not going to get that full picture. So just as much as fans want this full picture on Jalen Hurts, Howie Roseman, being a general manager in charge of player personnel, needs a full picture on everybody else as well. Yeah. So Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell are no different this year.
Yeah. Well, Conor, thank you so much for coming on. As always, it's awesome having you, and you and Ed do a lot of great work, and you do the Eagles Unfiltered. It seems like you're buddies with Gio, who's always somebody who's inspirational. So appreciate you coming on. Tell the people where we can follow along and show you some support.
All right, as you can see on screen, at Conor Myles, CONOR MYLES SI on Twitter, Instagram, or anywhere else you want to find me. And then Eagles Unfiltered, wherever you get your podcast. Just search Eagles Unfiltered. You'll get us right there.
Word. Appreciate you coming on. Holler at you soon, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.